Hi everyone, I'm Marie-Victoire and I'm fond of art, and today I'm really glad to begin this series of 15 minutes and a piece of art with one of my favorite paintings, if not my favorite painting in fact. And the story is very dear to my heart because the very first time I saw it was in the Musée du Louvre in Paris. And everyone was looking at the Gioconda, but me, I was entirely mesmerized by another masterpiece, enormous, gigantic, and absolutely fascinating. I named Le Radeau de la Méduse by Theodore Géricault. So as to understand this dramatic painting as best as possible within our time scale, we'll be reviewing 4 parts. Firstly, there will be the historical context, then a description of the painting, thirdly, its quick analysis, and finally, a word about its master, Géricault. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you will enjoy it. (1815) End of the Napoleonic Wars and the division of the world. June 1816. La Méduse, a French naval frigate, set sail from Ile-d'Aix under the command of Count de Chaumareix, a royalist émigré who hasn't sailed in over 20 years. 3 other ships accompany her: the corvette Echo, the brig Argus, and the supply ship Loire. Main goal? To reclaim control of Senegal, which had been returned to France by Britain after the Treaty of Vienna in 1815. Distance to cover: around 2,200 nautical miles, just over 4,000 kilometers. Main challenge: avoid the Arguin Bank, a shallow sandbank difficult to shot precisely as its position constantly shifts with the tides and ocean currents. July 2nd, 1816. Due to poor navigation, La Méduse runs aground on the Arguin Bank, north of Cap Blanc in the Atlantic Ocean. The captain abandons 150 of the 400 crew members, who are left to fend for themselves on a makeshift raft, initially towed by lifeboats and under the supervision of midshipman Coudin. Facts: the ropes break. The castaways are left adrift, many drown. Others, driven mad by thirst, hunger, and despair, kill each other, eat the dead, and descend into chaos. Each day brings new horror. When the rescue ship Argus finally finds them, only 10 survivors remain, barely alive. The raft of the Medusa captures the dramatic moment when, after 13 days adrift at sea, the 15 survivors spot a ship on the horizon, just as the makeshift raft is on the verge of collapsing. The monumental size of the painting means that the figures in the background appear life-sized, while those in the foreground are nearly twice as large as a real person. Packed tightly together and positioned close to the surface of the painting, the figures draw the viewer into the heart of the scene, creating a powerful sense of immersion. The raft is shown in perspective, with a composition built around pyramid-like structures formed by the bodies. One group rises up, another struggles to lift itself. Some figures are dead, others dying. Géricault alternates between full and partial views of the bodies. Some are nude, others draped. Some heads are raised, others bowed. One is even submerged at the very bottom of the canvas. One torso, lying flat on its back, is believed to be a portrait of Delacroix. Rather than focusing on strict historical accuracy or precise detail, Géricault aims for a powerful synthesis using suggestive color and emotion. The flesh tones have a pale greenish hue, the sickly pallor of death. Let's see the lower section. This part of the painting is an apology of death. The presence of corpses serves two purposes: to portray the horror of the scene and to suggest the length of the ordeal. On the left, the body of a legless man alludes to acts of cannibalism, while scattered patches of red blood recall violent struggles. In the lower right corner, another body, half submerged by the sea, seems to be crossing over from the world of the living into the realm of death. His lower body still rests on the wreckage, reminding us of his human origins, but his head, and with it his spirit, is already elsewhere. The piece of cloth covering his face acts like a veil, symbolizing the mystery of death. Let's focus on the central section. An old man holds the lifeless body of a young man across his legs, while another survivor grieves, overwhelmed by despair and rage. Some figures are shown with their feet wrapped in cloths, a detail inspired by the real survivors who protected their constantly soaked feet with scraps of fabric. Heads up to the upper section. At the top of the composition stands the African soldier Jean-Charles, the most dynamic figure in the entire painting. Waving his shirt toward the Argus, the rescue ship on the horizon, he becomes a symbol of hope. Almost all of the living figures turn their bodies toward him as if praying for a miracle, that the ship will see them and that they might be saved. This messianic figure, portrayed as a man of mixed race, stands in contrast to the horrors of slavery. He embodies the idea that salvation lies not in domination, but in unity and shared humanity. We can say is that there is a clear progressive arrangement of the bodies on the raft. The dead are placed at the very front, closest to the viewer. The weak and fading occupy the middle ground, and the most energetic figures are at the back, raising themselves up and reaching towards salvation. On the far left of the raft, we see the only elderly figure in the painting. He turns his back on the living and holds the body of a young man in his arms. His expression is ambiguous. He seems neither horrified by what surrounds him nor overcome with grief, and he shows no interest in the glimmer of hope rising in the distance. He simply looks thoughtful. Is he a father mourning his son? If so, perhaps he turns his back on the living because life no longer matters to him. But why does he seem untouched by the death of his child? Maybe the young man has been dead for some time now, and the tears have already dried. Still, he shows no emotional reaction. He appears completely detached from everything happening around him. Behind him sits another mysterious figure, shrouded in shadow. His face buried in his hands, his fingers clenched, his expression marked by madness. This is the image of despair. He is so consumed by suffering that he fails to notice the hope rising just beside him. And finally, a third character, a man of mixed race, holding a lifeless body while gazing toward the other end of the raft. What is he looking at? Perhaps he's drawn to the growing commotion, to the hope. He might be torn between two impulses, joining the effort to be saved, or staying behind to hold onto the body of someone he loved, even if that means letting it be carried away by the sea. Géricault, Géricault. To fully understand the raft of the Medusa, we must finally turn to its creator, Theodore Géricault, a young artist barely 27 years old when he painted this monumental canvas. Fascinated by human suffering, injustice, and the raw truths of the Bible, Géricault went far beyond traditional artistic methods. He interviewed survivors, studied corpses in morgues, and even kept severed limbs in his own studio to paint the textures of death with accuracy. He collaborated with doctors and read medical reports to understand trauma, physical and psychological as well. His obsession wasn't with sensationalism, but with truth. He didn't paint heroes, he painted men torn between death and life, dignity and despair. He refused to glorify the state or embellish the story. Instead, he delivered a universal message. In the darkest moments, humanity is revealed in all its complexity. In this masterpiece, Géricault doesn't offer easy answers. He gives us silence, mystery, and emotion. The old man lost in thought, the despairing figure blind to hope, the man torn between loyalty and survival. They are us. The raft of the Medusa is not just a painting of a shipwreck, it's a shipwreck of the soul, and Géricault, its relentless observer.